is America.
America!
I do love America.
Be a part of the show at 850-233-9988. The Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Mager's with us. Scott Mager from Mager Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Dedicated to helping everybody in the Panhandle get back on their feet, deal with the insurance companies, deal with about a million other legal things that can happen. Scott Mager from Mager Parúas and the Storm Help Team, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, my friend. Welcome in. What you doing?
Hey, pal, how's it going?
Everything is divine. Where do you want to kick this off today? Where do you want to start?
I'd like to talk about a couple things. First, there is a new consumer advocate, that is a person who's assigned by the state to help with ensuring that claims are processed and other insurance advocacy is aided for consumers, and the person's name is Tasha Carter. That position had been open for some 6 months, and nobody was sort of fighting on behalf of the individual people, the citizenry, and that person should be able to hopefully help us with getting our arms around why these claims are slower than other claims. There is nearly $7 billion of damages caused by Hurricane Michael and going up. There are tens of thousands of claims that are still unresolved, and that is a higher rate than even the Irma claims that are out there. And there really isn't a good explanation as to why it is that insurance companies are not moving faster on all of the claims. Not that they haven't resolved some of the claims. It is important for people to understand that the only way that you're going to get the insurance company to pay you if you have not been fully paid by now is to take more assertive efforts by getting lawyers involved. And I'll tell you that there is one experience that happened recently in Pinellas County regarding a hurricane claim that sort of has shot a bomb across the insurance company's bow, and that is there was a litigated claim, a $40,000 insurance claim that was made by a consumer where the insurance company refused to pay what seemed to be a relatively obvious claim. They had to litigate that extensively, and the court ended up finding in favor of the insured and paid them their $40,000 and then awarded nearly $1 million of attorney's fees because there had been such litigation associated with the claim that the court felt it was appropriate to tax the insurance company with the costs. And so what's happening is that the only way that you're going to be able to motivate them to resolve these claims is to get the right people in place. And as I've said this since the beginning that you and I have talked, getting people of skill and reputation is helpful. I mean, every day we are literally getting phone calls from insurance companies begging us to resolve the claims. I find it pleasing on the one hand and angering on the other, in that why weren't they calling and begging the insured, to give them a number so they could resolve it prior to the time that we got involved? Why is it that we had to file lawsuits in order to get the attention of the insurance company? And it's just an unfortunate process, and I just think it is so important for listeners out there, if you don't have a lawyer or don't have a very, very skilled lawyer, it is so important to take advantage of this now and allow us to help you to get your money, either all of your money or most of your money that you deserve now, and not another month or 2 or 3 or 4 away. And it's just so important that people do this and that they get involved with the right lawyers. There's law firms out there that are masquerading as, experienced law firms, and they just got into this business. And then there are law firms out there that have skills, that are experienced, and that can handle these claims in a professional and successful way. So I'm encouraging everybody to realize that the only way to get resolution now is to take the next step and motivate the insurance company. If they haven't paid you over 9 or 10 months, what is the incentive for them to pay you all your money when they know every day that you wait, they know you haven't filed a lawsuit? So every day they wait, they're earning interest on their money while you don't have yours, and you're living in your RV, or you're frustrated or sad. So all I'm saying to people is that it is so very important that you take advantage of that. The second thing to pay attention to is for those of you that have flood claims under the National Flood Insurance Program, you have 1 year from the date of the event to file your proof of loss of your flood damages. And if you don't, you lose your right to pursue that. So that would be October. This coming October, you need to make sure you have filed your claim before then. So for those of you that have flood claims and still haven't properly prepared a proof of loss under the requirements that are set out, you need to make sure you've done that to preserve your right to make a flood claim.
Over the time between the time that the hurricane hit and now, I have talked to you several times, and both on and off the air. I've heard public adjusters talk. I've heard other lawyers talk, and I cannot, as you're saying what you're saying, I cannot get over how often people have to use an attorney to have to do a very basic thing. There are complications, and as you dig into certain different cases, there are different intricacies there, and I totally understand that. But what if every time you had to go somewhere and do a transaction, go to the grocery store, well, they want to tell you that you owe more or whatever. Every time you got to do something, you got to get a lawyer. In other words, how did we get to this point with the insurance industry being how they are and getting away with it for so long? And it seems like everybody you talk to is having to get an attorney to get what they're dutifully, rightfully owed. And it's really jaw-dropping when you listen to people.
It's sad and it's unfortunate, and it's when you have government involved in things, or when you have a situation where there isn't a sufficient regulatory measure, there isn't a law in place that can protect consumers, you're going to have this. And in our case, we do have a law in place, but the problem is that many people don't know about it. You and I talked about this. If we had $1 for every person who said, don't hire lawyers like Scott Mager in the first months, if we had $1 for every public adjuster and other person who did not have the client's full intentions in mind and said, don't hire lawyers because, they're expensive, or we're going to get you your money, instead of partnering with lawyers, which they end up always doing, what would have happened is the insurance companies would have seen that lawyers are getting involved earlier. It is costing them more money. Therefore, they would want to pay claims sooner. Therefore, there would be less need for lawyers. The irony is the more you use a lawyer, the less you need a lawyer, because it's just like every year at the beginning of the school year, they have those blinking yellow lights that say you can only do 4 miles an hour in a school zone. And they have that police officer who's there the first week writing tickets for every single person who's, going 6 miles an hour, over that limit that's required. And then everybody gets tickets. And then the rest of the year when you get blinking, what happens? Everybody drives slowly. Why? Because they're afraid of getting a ticket, even though the cop never shows up again to that school zone. The reality is, unless you create a motivator, unless you create a check and balance on the system, unfortunately, larger companies may take advantage of the profit. The capital was in the profit model. And unfortunately, may have a tendency to abuse the system. Now, having said that, sometimes there are situations where the consumer doesn't provide sufficient information for the claim. So it's not 100% the insurance company's fault. Sometimes you're not educated on what to do because you've never handled a claim before. Or maybe you've got an adjuster or a contractor that didn't know how to properly process the claim. Or maybe your claim was closed and you didn't even know it and nobody was educating you. So there are situations where it's not necessarily the insurance company's fault. But as a practical matter, when you're talking about profit and you're talking about billion-dollar companies who every month they don't pay the $1 billion, they're earning interest on it, you have to create motivators as checks and balances on them. And if you do, then what happens is there's more of an incentive for them to pay because they might suffer an adverse result that is higher than the amount of money they pay you. If they owe you $10,000 and they might have to pay $100,000, they're going to quickly pay you that $10,000. But I always say it's just so unfortunate early in storms that many public adjusters and contractors end up being on the side of the insurance company because they isolate out the lawyers who really have the strongest ability to help, and they end up delaying these claims, and then they end up calling us anyway after they've gotten money, and it just would be much better if we established majors of the world early on. Then you would actually need lawyers less. It's just a reality. Just think about it. If the insurance company knew that every claim they didn't pay, they had to pay double or triple or quadruple, you know as well as I do, they would pay immediately and more quickly. But sometimes our system of capitalism has to be tweaked and adjusted and motivated in a proper way. We're fortunate we have a statute in Florida. Not all states have it. We have a statute in Florida, our Chapter 627.428, that levels the playing field by saying that if you don't pay in a timely way, you might have to pay, plus have to pay all the attorney's fees. We have a wonderful statute under Chapter 624 that says if you don't timely pay, then you might have to pay triple or substantial amount more in either punitive damages or other penalty-related damages if you act unreasonably. And you and I both know that there are literally thousands of situations where people have been paid unreasonably late and unfortunately and underpaid, and they have bad faith claims and they just don't know it, or they haven't been educated by their public adjuster or contractor that they have a bad faith claim because they paid 9 months late instead of paying on day 91. And so these are important things that you and I have tried to educate every listener, whether you're a business or a private owner. And as I continue to say, whether your claim is worth $7 million or $700, you should seek to get everything you possibly can, and only settle for less than that when you honestly feel as though that is sufficient to compensate you for your home. Because if not, what's going to happen is you may be shortchanged and you may not get what you want. And in addition to that, as we have continued to say, I urge people, every listener out there, whether your adjuster has told you this or not, go get your windows checked by an expert. Go get your doors checked. Make sure that your openings, which are much less strong than the cement block foundation house that you have or building you have, make sure that you've had them checked, because there's lots of failures that aren't necessarily evident. That the window looks like it's functioning now, but in fact it is weakened or debilitated to the point where it needs to be repaired or replaced, even though it visually looks fine to you who's not an engineer or an expert. So all of these things are so very important to people, and you and I are going to keep thinking from the rooftops so that everybody understands that, and people don't delay or don't get duped by people who say, you don't need to hire the Scott Magers of the world, just keep waiting and we'll get you something else or we'll handle it on our own. That's just the reality. Listen, I was the head of one of the largest insurance companies in the world. And I'm telling you, every day that people waited and didn't hire top lawyers, was more money for the insurance company. Let's just face that. Once you create that motivator, the whole paradigm changes. And the irony is, if you are more aggressive now, then in the future you'll have actually less problems. And insurance companies will pay quicker because they'll realize the financial penalty.
Scott Mager from Mager Parúas and the Storm Help Team, stormhelpteam.org, 844-800-LAWS to contact Scott and Brian Parúas from Mager Parúas. More to come with Scott Mager next.
Yes, all the questions everybody wants to know.
We're here. Call us 850-233-9988. This is The Kramer Show on NewsTalk at 101.
Scott Mager from Mager Parúas and the Storm Help Team with us today. You know, there's another hurricane that's in the news. It's Dorian, and it's out there. And people around here are talking a little bit about it because there are different spaghetti models. And anytime there's a hurricane out there, now we're going to be paying super close attention to it. If someone wanted to change their insurance company, is that something that's easy or hard to do?
It is easy to do. The best thing to do if you want a different insurance company, if you don't know what you're doing, is certainly dial our 844-800-LAWS number. We'll give you some recommendations of agents who can evaluate your home and give you competitive bids from different insurance companies so that you can get your policy not only reviewed if you have an existing policy, but to get new coverage that will be helpful for you. It's important right now, and people have seen this from the experiences they have, that you get complete coverage for what you need. So if you have just replaced your windows with impact windows and you don't need any additional window help, then you may be able to competitively bid and not get coverage for those kinds of items. Or you may be able to lower one of your coverages. Let's say you just got a brand new shed, or you don't have a shed or a garage, then you may not need as much coverage B, and you just don't know that, and so you can reduce your premium by that. Maybe you don't need as much contents coverage, or maybe you need more contents coverage, so you can find out about that. Maybe you have alternative housing, and so an ALE, a coverage D, is not as important as somebody else who does need it. So you need to ask these questions. You also need to look at things in your house that you believe are significant that you want to make sure is covered so that you have enough coverage. You know, it is important to not have too much coverage, but to have enough coverage. Like, for example, there was one particular client that we had that had $900,000 of coverage A, and the house was worth $200,000. That's not necessary to have that coverage. And whoever sold them that policy sold them a true bill of goods. So it's important for you all to take the time and have your policy evaluated. Additionally, if you have all your coverage, maybe you just need your policy shopped with different providers to see whether or not somebody else would be willing to give you a more competitive bid, especially those people who have gotten repairs done. Because insurance companies, I can tell you from being on the insurance side, insurance companies, when they see the risk is lower, may be more aggressive with the way in which they price certain things. So it's just important for you to get as educated as you can, whether you have a business or you have a residential or condo, or whether you have a particular investment property, you know, to make sure that you get the coverage you need and not what you don't. If you're in a business, you want to make sure that you have business interruption insurance. Very critical to make sure that whether it's day 1 or day 5, if your business is closed because the power's out, don't you want all your employees paid their salary? Don't you want to make the amount of profit that you would have made every day when that place was closed? Most people either didn't have business insurance or had one of these 30 or 60 or 90-day clauses where by the time 90 days comes along, you don't have any employees and you're not open anyway. So it's very important to make sure you get good education. If you're not sure what you need, you certainly can call me or anybody in my office and ask us and say, hey, what do you need? Or email us, at the Storm website. And so it's important to make sure that you have all of the coverage you can. And if you don't have specific coverage, to get that coverage in. Many people, for example, have bought something. They might have a new tractor, or they might have a brand new pool, or they might have something that they haven't insured, an expensive piece of jewelry, or something in their house that they purchased and may not be covered. You need to call your insurance agent and say, I need to make sure this is identified. Additionally, you need to take pictures of everything. Every one of your pieces of jewelry, your stereo, your TV, all of the things that are valuable to you, make sure you have pictures. If your house is in great condition, take pictures of your house showing it's in great condition so the insurance company after a storm can't claim, oh, well, your house was always like this. It was wear and tear. And some things look like they're wear and tear, but they're not.
850-233-9988, the phone number. You can call up, get on the air with Scott Mager from Mager Parúas and the Storm Help Team. Ask him any kind of question, something that's going on with you. More to come with Scott next.
This is the Kramer Show on the Good Old Boy Network. News Talk at 101. Alex Jones. The Kramer Show. 6 to 9 weekdays on News Talk at 101.
You want to get on the air with Scott Mager? 850-233-9988. 850-233-9988. Scott Mager from Mager Parúas and the Storm Help Team. It's unbelievable, unimaginable that here we are going on, 10 and a half months, and people are still having to finagle their way into the insurance company with an attorney in order to get what they need in order to be able to live. It's sad. It's frustrating. It's angering, but it's our life now. And if you got to use somebody, Scott's the guy to use. I mean, he's been here for the long haul since we need to find out exactly what date you first came on, but he's been in the thick with us through thick and thin, and he's here to take your phone calls today. So if you've got questions about what's going on in your world, 850-233-9988 to get on the air. And we talk a lot about insurance, but there are people out there that are having all sorts of problems, right, Scott?
Yeah, it's not only the legal problems that, may come up. It's also the emotional and stress-related things. The fact that it costs you more to function now because you might have to drive further. Schools have closed, which, affected children. I mean, people underestimate the emotional strife that's associated with these kinds of traumatic events. Marriages have been broken up. Stress has occurred. And I think it's important as part of this whole paradigm to recognize that the easier you can make your life with regard to these insurance claims, the better. And the sooner that you can get people that you can trust to get you all of your money so that you can turn your focus toward what you do well in your life, the better you are. We had one of our clients was a physician, and the stress that had affected this physician had impacted the physician's ability to practice medicine in some ways. And so, and they were carrying this burden. This doctor was carrying this burden, upset and worried and angry for weeks and months, and had a profound effect on the person. And all of that could have been minimized had they been aware that there are people like us who would take all of that stress off of them. I mean, this is the reality of things. You need to hire an expert or somebody who you think has got the skill set level to take the stress off. It may not result in an immediate recovery. Maybe it will. But it will result in you having peace of mind to be able to put your life back together again. And all I can say to people is that the sooner that you get the best professionals involved, not only from the standpoint of a lawyer, but also getting better insurance agents to help you, the better you're going to be protected now and in the future. So all of you that are out there that want your insurance policy evaluated or want to see if there's more competitive rates, you can dial the 844-800-LAWS number. We're not insurance agents, but we will recommend to you some insurance agents who will go and shop your insurance policy or tell you what is missing in your insurance policy or tell you what you don't need in your insurance policy. For those of you that have stresses now and still don't have a lawyer involved, I can only implore you to get a lawyer involved. For those of you that have a lawyer and that lawyer you're either not sure of or isn't performing at the speed that you want, then contact us and have us at least tell you, hey, here's what you should tell that lawyer. I'll tell you all the tricks to tell your lawyer if you want. And then you can have that lawyer, do whatever it is you want. You and I both know that I've been championing education to people and empowering people. I don't need everybody's case. I want to help everybody, but I want to help everybody under the terms and conditions that they want help in. And I think that is the best thing you can do as a human being, is to try to be as good as you can to everyone else. I have given hundreds of hours of free time across this Panhandle to try to help people and educate them on my own dime. And I do that every week here. And so I just think it's important for people to get as educated as they can and empowered as they can to make their life a little better or to eliminate some of the stresses they think they have.
Caller, you're up with Scott Mager. Go ahead.
Man, that was pretty genuine of you, Scott. Like, I can't, with a wife, 3 kids, and a dog, even after getting money and just on the road to rebuilding, it's like, I can't, it's affected my marriage, my life, strength, job, and I can't imagine not even getting your actual claim settled yet. And that was a very genuine point. And I know the amount of time that you put in and effort, and I can see the difference it's made. And, if people step back and look at it, that this might just be a tiny part of your life, and if you can get over that. But it is. It's a mind breaker. Mind breaker.
Yeah, thanks so much for the kind words. It's overwhelming, and I think people don't pay enough attention to the fact that this is a huge and debilitating thing that you have to embrace rather than fight. You have to understand that I might not be able to change the behavior of an insurance company who didn't pay me in week 1, or that the business that I work for is now affected, or that I have to drive my kids to a different school. But the sooner that I can get empowered, the sooner I can get people like Scott who are going to truly fight for me and fight to get me every dollar, at least that gives you some peace of mind to know that you're not alone in this, to know that you have somebody who truly cares, who's trying to help you. And it's been great that Kramer and people like you have said nice things about what I'm trying to do. And it's just a groundswell of people that are realizing that this is overwhelming. But you need people on your side so that you're not doing this alone. And I thank you for the kind words, and I encourage everyone out there to express the kind words, because then more people will understand that getting people like us involved will make a difference in your life in a positive way.
Caller, go ahead. You're up with Mr. Scott Mager.
Hey, got a question in dealing with the mortgage company and getting my money back. In my mortgage, what I signed, the paragraph that deals with these cases says that if I complete the work, a inspection may be requested. It doesn't say who's requesting it. And then it says only if that can be done promptly. And, I've talked to my mortgage company. They say I have to request an inspection for the work completed, which why would I already see the work. And two, then they say it'd be 2 to 3 weeks before an inspector can come out there. And then you figure after that, then it's at least a week or two before I get my money. And, I need that money to go on to the next project. Do I have any, legal standing to say, hey, this is not what my mortgage, the papers that I signed say that you have to have an inspection promptly. And having worked for the state at one time, promptly usually means 24 hours.
Yeah, I think
I'll give them 72. I'll give them 72 hours, but 2-3 weeks. Hey, I don't even want the inspection. I just need my money back because I completed the job. So, that's a question I asked.
Yes, you have several options, okay? You have several options. I think your assessment is accurate. You can write them and say to them that, 3 weeks is not promptly and that they need to send your money, or you can call anyone. Call a general contractor. Call a friend of yours. Call anybody that has some skill set and have them come out and do a so-called inspection. Say, I've inspected the property, and I find the property is consistent with the certificate of occupancy or the completed permits, and I find that this is perfectly legitimate. You can do that in a day. You can have in a week. You can have somebody, and if somebody charges you, then pay them $100 to come and do that. But it doesn't say you have to have an inspection by a code enforcement official. It just says it has to be inspected. Your own person can go out and inspect it, the person who completed the work. So there are lots of
their inspectors are only taking pictures. Their inspectors are young college kids that are just out there taking photos. And I'm just wondering, why can't I just take the photos and send it to them? They're not really inspecting. If they were inspecting and saying, yes, this work was done well, or yes, they poured them fence posts deep enough that could withstand strong winds, that I would say, fine, it's worth me to have them come out and do that. But they're not. They're just coming out, taking pictures and saying, okay, work's done. And why can't I do that?
You could get your own inspector. But I mean, to me, to make your claim stronger, rather than you doing it, get somebody who has a license to come out, take the pictures and say, I've looked at the premises. I don't care if it takes them 15 minutes. I looked at the premises, and I find the premises are in perfect working order. The roof looks great, or the windows or whatever's been done looks great, and then you comply.
Okay.
Remember, the contracts are reinterpreted in a manner against those that draft it. It's their mortgage documents. Therefore, inspection means any inspection that you want, not any inspection they want.
Okay. And then the word promptly, I mean, what does that indicate?
It'll be interpreted
in a legal
against
document?
them, and I think the answer is I think that promptly is quickly, but rather than having to worry about taking a position that, 2 weeks is not prompt enough, just have one of your own people, get somebody with a license to come out, take the pictures, and you should get your check within days. And if they don't, you should institute legal action against them because that's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing all the work. They keep saying they're protecting their investment, and I say they're full of, I'm protecting their investment.
I think you're right, and I think you have legal causes of action, and you may be able to get even attorney's fees for suing them for the money that they owe you. So that's my suggestion to you and to everybody who's involved in these kinds of claims.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
How often?
Have a great day and be well.
Thanks for the phone call. 844-800-LAWS if it has to get to that. But how often does a case like that, where it's something seemingly fairly simple, get to the point where the person just goes, all right, well, I've done everything I can. I took the pictures, got the guy out here. They're still, back and forth. I mean, okay, I don't know what else to do. I mean, is that fairly common?
The answer is yes, in the sense that there are lots of situations where mortgage companies hold back money either because they're ignorant and don't understand how to release it or because they're malicious. There are lots of companies that will work with you. But if you think fundamentally, what the mortgage company wants to do is protect their asset. I understand that. So if you have somebody who's doing the work for you and being paid by a mortgage company, they should be in regular communication with the mortgage company saying, we are redoing the roof. Tell me what you would need from us. Do you want pictures as we go? Do you want CO? What is it that you want that will help so that we can get this money released immediately? And have your vendors work and update the mortgage company so that they have no defense to a claim that there are problems. And then it happens much more quickly. It's just paying attention to what your mortgage company documents require and then going forward and meeting them. So in the case that we just had in the phone call, what they could do is while the repairs are being done, they could be telling the mortgage company, if you have any problems with our work, please let us know. And then when you complete the work, we've now completed the work and we've performed an inspection the next day, please issue our money. You see how difficult it'd be for them to then complain that they need an inspection when you already did one.
Yes. There he is, Scott Mager. If you want to hop on the air, you got a question, you can light him up, 850-233-9988.
Show.
I want you off the premises now.
6 to 9 weekdays on NewsTalk at 101.
It's the Kramer Show. It's NewsTalk at 101. Scott Mager's with us. 844-800-LAWS. That's their phone number. 844-800-LAWS. Hey, you're up with Scott Mager. Good morning. What's happening?
Hello, sir.
You're up.
Yes, sir. Two questions for Scott. One, I've attained a representation. Basically, I was lowballed on my claim, but I've been informed that a settlement in the vicinity of 1 to 2 years. And then the other item is on the assisted living expenses. Since I filed a lawsuit, I'm sitting in a house, mold, etc. Was trying to attain a trailer and receive it through ALE, and I've been told that I'm not going to receive ALE while I'm in litigation. So that's two questions for it. If that's normal.
Okay, so if you're entitled to monies and the insurance company says to you, we're not going to pay you what we owe you because you filed a suit against us, then what I would recommend you do is I'd recommend that you get a group of 20 of your friends and go to the local pub and have a celebration, because that is the worst form of bad faith I've ever seen in my life, and you're going to win an extensive amount of money. Jokes aside, an insurance company cannot retaliate against you and refuse to pay you when they have a duty to do so. And so if you are represented by a lawyer, that lawyer would be salivating, and if not, you should be calling us, because that is absurd. And I feel fairly confident that any good lawyer who files a lawsuit is going to get paid immediately on the outstanding amounts, or they may be suffering the insurance company from a world of hurt, and you may end up with double or triple or more than that in responses. So I encourage you, if you have coverage and they're supposed to pay you and they're not paying you, you should be in litigation. And if you are, your lawyer should be telling you that's a great thing.
Yes, sir, I am in litigation, but that was from my legal representation's mouth that basically they were not going to pay the ALE while we're in a lawsuit.
Well, if the lawyer has told you that the insurance company is refusing to pay your ALE because you're in a lawsuit, then that's a problem with the insurance company that your lawyer should be excited about. I would be, because that's just totally wrong. And when I say excited, I mean in a good way, not in a bad way. It is awful that an insurance company would not pay you what they owe you. But there are penalties for wrongfully denying you your money. And those penalties can result in you being paid a lot more money because you're suffering damages, distress, and other problems as a result of you not being able to pay your bills or you not being able to get the money that you're contractually owed. And that would be a good case for you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Call us if you need anything.
By the way, his phone number, their number, 844-800-LAWS. This is going to be a really quick one. Caller, you're up with Scott Mager. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I just had something to touch base on the mortgage company. I've had several inspections done throughout this process, and one inspector came out, and I've done a lot of the work myself on my home since the storm. And the inspector told me, well, you've got things on here that aren't completed. And I said, yes, I understand that, but those are not part of what the insurance company paid for. And he docked me on my percentage of completion, which held me up from getting further funds from the mortgage company released because of things that I did on my own. And when the second inspector came out, they said, oh, well, that's not on the paperwork from the insurance company, so we don't dock that for what's completed or what's not completed. That's an upgrade.
Wow. Hey, we're up on time. Maybe the next time on Thursday you can call back, or you can call the 844-800-LAWS number. I didn't mean to purposefully cut you off. I was trying to get a quick one in there at the last minute. Scott, this was an awesome hour, and we could go another hour. Thank you so much for what you're doing to help us all, and thanks for being with us through the long haul, my friend.
You're the best. Thanks so much for what you're doing for the community. Really appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
You're the best. I'll talk to you soon, bud.
You're welcome.
This is live and local morning radio. This is Kramer.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.